When I started making YouTube videos on, all these controversial topics, culture, politics, stuff like that, I was very shocked to see how hostile people were towards my videos. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen people try to slander me and pick fights with me on social media. Maybe you've come across some videos that people have made to try and discredit me. Overall, I was very shocked with how angry these people were. And it's not like I'm not used to trolls. That's definitely not the case. I've been a content creator for a couple of years, been doing it full time for a while, and that's just part of the game, right? That's part of the business. You're a public figure on the internet, you're going to get hate. Uh but I didn't expect the hate to be like this. Um Seeing people, the same faces, leave the same volatile comment across multiple social media platforms of mine, or people that spend hours trying to antagonize me on social media, or even worse, the other content creators that make multiple videos about me throughout the month. And I get it, like, it's content creation, you got to make content somehow. But it seems very obsessive. And after a while of calling someone a turf, a transphobe, a bigot, a anti-black, a black white supremacist. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. But after a while of doing that, you would think that these people would figure out that I'm not going anywhere. uh, like I said, I've been a content creator for a couple of years. Regardless of what content I make, I still have to pay my rent. So I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing. And this is probably part of the problem. I think a lot of people think I'm making these videos just for money, and boo boo. I can go get a job at McDonald's if I need to pay my rent. I don't have to put myself in a position where I'm berated daily by random strangers on the internet. Trust me, as much as you think I enjoy receiving that type of hate, I don't. It's kind of annoying, but you know what? It is what it is. Like I said, it's part of the game. My concern with all of this, though, as I said, is the obsessive nature of a lot of these people. And I'm sure some of you guys watching this might be able to relate this to your life in some way. Perhaps you've had a friend that, cut you off and started slandering you because you didn't fall in line with a certain ideology. Maybe you don't support gender identity, or perhaps you rejected Black Lives Matter. Whatever the case may be, I'm sure you can attest to experiencing similar things as I have. And I'm old enough to remember a time where people were able to debate things, have civil debate, not shit slinging contests, and have a difference of opinion without thinking the other person is the biggest piece of shit you've ever seen in your life. It's actually quite fascinating to me. And I'm someone that enjoys being able to have conversation with people, but there has to be an attempt to have a good faith conversation, right? I'm not gonna engage with someone that is just being nasty to me. Like, why would I waste my time? I have other things to do, right? I got things to do, boo boo. The last couple of years, I've made a plethora of videos on various controversial topics, and I pick these topics specifically because I think they are contributing to a lot of the societal unrest that we're seeing. We're watching, people just spiral out of control, in the sense that it appears that people are losing their minds, over politics, over social justice. And I make these videos because I want to try to figure out, like, maybe I can figure out why people are motivated to throw their support behind these ideas and then act so hostile at the same time. Maybe there's something that I can do to try to lower people's tensions and get people to have a reasonable conversation about something, instead of screaming and thinking your neighbor is a bigot or a white supremacist. And that's really the reason I started making this content. Trust me, I didn't pick it. I was making video game content before this on Twitch, but I could not honestly sit back and watch the world burn without at least making an attempt to try and, you know, get control of this situation. One thing that I have noticed with all of the videos that I've made and all of the research that I've done on these topics is that they all they all have something to do with dismantling Christianity. And I'm not saying that just because I'm boasting about the fact that I was recently saved, although I'm very happy that that happened. I wish I did that a long time ago. For those that don't know, that means I became a Christian recently, and I was agnostic prior to that. But a common thing that I notice with all of these social justice causes, all of these ideologies that are coming from the radical left, they all have direct confliction to something that's in the Bible or something relating to Christianity. You know, for those that have been following me for a while, I often talk about Marxist tactics. I know a lot of other content creators on the left, they like to laugh at me for saying that because it just sounds like I'm a conspiracy theorist. Okay, sure. The Naked Communist. It illustrates 45 rules for a communist takeover. And one of the rules is number 27, and it reads, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion, discredit the Bible, and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. It goes on to explain what this is. With personal conduct now reduced to whatever feels good, do it responsibly, the acceptance of worship and obedience to a supreme being and striving to live the highest moral standards in one's personal life have been pushed aside. This also goes on to say that such pseudo-church organizations are serving more as a community activist organization or service centers than communities engaged in the worship of God. Traditional churches, originally organized as places for self-renewal and improvement, pay attention to that, are now being diluted into social clubs. So I'm saying, like, the majority, if not all, of these social justice causes that I have seen come from the left have direct conflict with the Bible. If you look at Ibram X. Kendi, the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist, there was this one video where he was literally trying to connect anti-racism to the gospel. I have seen pastors try to convince their churchgoers that Jesus was trans or non-binary. No, boo-boo, that's not a thing. And often when I try to bring stuff like this, a lot of people who are atheists, agnostic, or maybe they just flat out just don't like Jesus for some reason or another, they'll usually say something to the effect of, well, Christianity is bad because it's full of pedophiles, or it's full of people that want to convert homosexuality. They want to, what do they call it? The conversion therapy, right? And they'll try to use these as examples to say that, oh, Christianity is bad because of this thing. Well, if that's the case and people are legitimately being hurt because of the church, then the logical thing to do would be to close the church. That would be the logical thing. You wouldn't want to start injecting it with social justice. That sort of seems like there is another motive there instead of trying to get rid of something that supposedly is bad. And side note, you're going to find bad people regardless if they're religious or not. Clearly, I deal with a lot of people that are woke and they're not the nicest individuals. So I don't like generalizing in the sense that all Christians are bad. And you know, the thing is I used to think exactly like that. I tell this story one time of, it's very embarrassing, but in high school, I tried flushing a Bible down the toilet strictly out of a virtue signal. I never opened up the Bible, never went to church, never knew anything about God, but I had a lot of opinions on him. And yeah, I threw a Bible in the toilet in front of a bunch of girls in the bathroom. And, you know, I was one of those one of those angry, angsty teenagers. The reason that I'm bringing this up is to pose the question, if God is imaginary, if he doesn't exist, then why are people putting so much effort behind trying to destroy the church? That's a question for you. I already know the answer, and I'm going to give it to you, but I want to get your brain thinking a little bit. Have you ever heard the phrase, how to boil a frog? It's this idea that if you were to take a frog and throw it into a boiling pot of water, if you threw it into a boiling pot of water, it would jump out immediately because it's hot. It's like, right? So instead, what you do is you put a frog in a room temperature pot of water and you slowly raise the heat. And by the time the frog realizes that he's being boiled, it's too late. He's dead. So the people in power that are benefiting off of seeing society fight with each other, they're boiling the frog being people that are followers of Christ. And they're doing this because if you were to outright close the churches, or like Canada, there's a lot of church burnings going on. I don't know if they're still happening. Let me know in the comments if that's still occurring. I know in 2020 it was a big issue. But if you were to just close all the churches, people would notice. People would notice and people would say something. So instead, you slowly inject the church with social justice. And if you add things to the gospel, the Bible, if you add things, you are therefore subtracting things. So instead of, like that book said, instead of going to church to worship God and have a connection with him, you are now going to church to be a social justice warrior, to talk about anti-racism, to talk about white supremacy and whiteness and systemic racism and inequity and all this garbage. That's not the point of going to church. It's not the point of being a believer in God. What I'm seeing is a symptom of a communist uprising. And that's not good. I know there's a lot of people in America that are in favor of communism, and these people were born here, I would assume. They're probably born here. They probably picked up on that information in college, but I know a lot of survivors that grew up in under communism, and their families starved. I have this one friend, Lily. I went to go see her recently do a talk in Connecticut. She's really, really awesome. But she grew up under Mao Zedong, the dictator, during the Cultural Revolution. And she talked about how families had to swap their dead children with their neighbors so that they could have something to eat. That's how bad it was under communism. And then you have people in America that are like, oh yes, communism, communism. In order for communism to work, you have to ensure that everyone is on board. And that's not realistic. So how do you push for communism if people don't want to participate? With communist uprisings, there are two main entry points. The first is family, and the second is religion. Which is why, for example, in 2020, during the peaceful protests, Black Lives Matter admitted that they were trained Marxists, and on their website, they said that they wanted to dismantle the nuclear family. They oppose the nuclear family or something to that effect. And that's why, is they don't want you to have a family with the people that you actually grew up with. They want you to be family with your fellow comrade. And in communist uprisings, if you have a very strong family unit, that is a big roadblock for communism, because you're secure in knowing that you have people at home that always have your back. You have a safe space, essentially, where people are always going to support you. They have your back, right? So that's one of the entry points for communism. And the other one, which is the main focal point of this video, and I'm going to make another video on all of this stuff because this is new context that I'm getting now that I've sort of started reading the Bible and going down the religious rabbit holes. I'm now understanding exactly why they're trying to destroy the church. And the other entry point is religion. This is why when communists come to power, religion is the first thing to go. And the reason for that is the government wants full control over your moral compass. So a Christian, or I should say, a follower of Jesus, I should say, not a Christian, because I think there's a difference there. But someone that is actively following the Word of God, the Bible. The moral compass is in the Bible. That is essentially what God wants out of you. And in order for communists to come to power, they need to have control over your moral compass, which is whatever they want it to be at any time. So they don't want you referencing a book. They want you looking to the government and saying, this is what we should be following. With that in mind, I've noticed something with all of these angry individuals who are trying to enforce their ideologies on other people, whether it be by trying to discredit them by making YouTube videos, or slandering them by calling them a TERF or a bigot or a white supremacist. And I've noticed something with these people. Take a look.
I think outside of strict like theistic dogma or theism or whatever, the lack of religion is the problem.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. Wokeness replaced it.
I look at because I recently became a Christian myself.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And anytime I encounter someone that's really woke and is like invested in all these ideas, they're not religious. And in fact, they have negative things to say about God.
Right.
So I'm like, whenever I hear that phrase, y'all need Jesus. No, I'm serious. I think you guys do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's recap. Churches are being subverted with social justice ideas. And a lot of these people that are so vitriolic and are quick to slander others, and call them a bigot, a transphobe, a white supremacist, whatever, these people are following the same social justice causes. Maybe not all of them, but by and large, from what I've observed, these people follow at least one of these social justice ideas. Gender identity, in my opinion, is one of the big ones. And it's one of the ones that is causing I think the most damage, more so than the conversation surrounding racism and whiteness and white supremacy. I think gender identity is one of the most damaging ones. And I'm going to make a video on this too. I mean, I've been making videos on it, but part of the reason that I want to take a pause from being direct about these ideas and how damaging it is because I remember one of the first videos I reacted to on this channel was the Yuri Bezmenov video, and he was an ex-KGB agent that was warning America on the potential of a future communist uprising. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I think he was right on the money. But one thing in that video that stuck out to me, and it's been haunting me for the last couple of years, is the fact that he says, it doesn't matter how much evidence you show someone, it doesn't matter how much proof you put right in front of their face. If someone has been demoralized, the truth doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter because they're going to believe whatever they've been conditioned to believe. And that's just the result of someone that is demoralized. So when I see a lot of these people acting very combative and, trying to just attack everyone that's not falling in line with a certain ideology or whatever, when I see that they're also not religious in the sense that they believe in Jesus, they might say that they're a pagan and they might say that they're an atheist. And I don't doubt that they are good people out there. Well, I shouldn't say good people because no one's technically good except for God, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I don't doubt that they are kind-hearted people that are not religious. But the issue is that when you're not religious, you might be more inclined to latch on to ideas as a religion in itself. So and this is why churches are being subverted. It's because during when communist uprisings happen, the state wants full control over your moral compass. And for people that are followers of Christ, their moral compass is the word of God, whatever's in the Bible. And so in order for communism to happen, you have to get rid of the churches. And that's essentially, like I said earlier, is boiling the frog, doing a slow infiltration instead of getting rid of it outright. But because the Bible doesn't change, right? You can have pastors that are self-serving that might try to teach people these social justice ideas, but the Bible itself does not change. The gospel does not change. So essentially, it's an anchor for people in terms of a moral compass. It's never going to change. And that's no bueno for a communist. That's no bueno, because they want control over your moral compass. So going back to what I was saying is, even if you have people that I'm sure, like I said, they're probably really nice people that are not religious, if you don't have an anchor for you, there's a possibility you might drift off into a different direction because of something that is man-made. And some people will say the Bible is man-made. That's a completely different video. I don't have time to get into that. However, gender identity, for example, that is a man-made concept. Transgenderism, it is a man-made concept. It's not something that's recognized in the Bible. And so the Bible is a direct conflict with a lot of these social justice ideologies. Anti-racism is, again, another direct conflict with that. Anti-racism wants you to judge people based on the color of their skin and discriminate against them. And that in the Bible, it's complete opposite. The whole point of me making this video was to try and connect with people that are entrenched in this mindset, this combative, hostile, vitriolic mindset, and trying to connect with these people to let them know that I'm not your enemy and you're not my enemy. The enemy are the people that are watching society fight with each other. And every day we spend fighting with each other is another day that the people in power are able to further their agenda. We're just handing over our freedoms to them. And I don't say that lightly. The last couple of years, I've just been so... Before I found God, I was spiraling because I felt this sense of despair because, me making so many videos on all of these topics, I found myself saying, what's the point? What's the point? People still think I'm a conspiracy theorist. People still don't want to listen to me. People don't want to wake up. Like, what is the point? Thankfully, I don't think like that now because now I have God to lean on. But I found myself in that point a lot of throughout 2021. And in order for us to, I think, fully convey that we are essentially on the same team to everyone else, and this goes for people on the right too. Boo-boos, you still got to live with people on the left. Like, you, whether you like it or not, they're your neighbors, okay? Yeah, you got to learn to love your neighbors, right? So we got to work together and we got to find a way to start uniting. But part of the problem is if you have someone like Yuri Bezmenov said, who is demoralized, or you have someone that is following a moral compass that is man-made, it's going to be even more difficult to connect with that person. Me saying this, I'm hoping it does something. I'm hoping it clicks in someone's head, because this is going to take the effort on the people that I'm speaking to, the people that are acting so volatile because they think that they are doing good. And I listen, I don't for one second think that the majority of Americans, or not even just Americans, the whole world is acting like this. But I'm not going to believe for a second that the majority of everyday people are being malicious just to be malicious. I think a lot of people are misguided, and this is the result of following a moral compass that is created for you in the sense of big government. And I think in order for us to first have a civil conversation, we have to fix this right here. Sure, we have an information warfare right now. There's a psychological warfare Like I mentioned, a lot of people are, addicted to trying to fight with everyone, especially on social media. And in order for us to fix the information warfare, we have to fix the psychological warfare. But before we fix the psychological warfare, we have to fix the spiritual warfare. We have to fix what's in here. So what I'm suggesting for these people is, first of all, I think it would be a good idea to turn off the computer. Delete these apps from your phone. You don't need them. And even if you're not being outright combative, right now, there is a war on the minds. And I think that if there is bad news, you're going to hear about it. You don't need to be on social media for hours on end or watching all of these, I don't know, news sites or, just doom scrolling essentially. There's no need for you to be doom scrolling on the timeline and just saying, oh, did you see this bad news? Did you see this person die? Did you see what's happening here? Like it's too much and our brains aren't meant for that. So I think the first thing is to just disconnect, go for a walk, experience nature, go camping, do something fun that doesn't require you to be glued to a screen. Because that's part of the problem is COVID exacerbated mental illness, because when people are stuck at home and they're in lockdown, most people looked towards the internet to entertain themselves or to socialize. So in the context of propaganda, that's an easy access to constantly feed you propaganda. Just nonstop propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. And even if you don't believe it's propaganda, you can't argue with me that it's not bad news. It's just bad news, bad news, bad news, politics, 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 bad news, bad news. And that is, again, that's something that's mentioned in The Naked Communist. Is just a complete infiltration of all media. And we'll get into that in a different video. But I think people got to disconnect. And then I would also recommend that maybe it might be a good idea to just watch some sermons. The church that I go to is called Awakening Church. I'm going to put a link in the description for you guys to check it out. And, that's how I started my spiritual path. I had a friend that, who was a believer, and he started asking me questions, and I started to warm up to the idea, because the way that he approached the conversation was so different from what I was led to believe about, Christians. After a while of watching the likes of Westboro Baptist Church on the news, you start to build a very skewed perception of Christians or Christianity as a whole. And my friend, his approach was just so, it was so welcoming. It wasn't, just aggressive. And so that sort of led me to start researching and looking in the Bible and watching more sermons. And the more I read and the more I watched and the more I researched beyond what people were telling me about Jesus, I learned that I have been totally lied to. and it makes you think, because like I said, a lot of these people that are so vitriolic, they don't believe in Jesus. And I think that it shows. It honestly shows. And so I have some passages that I want to read off to you. And as I'm reading them, I'm going to put some things on the screen of, some of the interactions I've had with people online. And I might not have actually interacted with them. I've just come across them. But I've learned to not respond to these people. Actually, let me open it up with that. Let me show you the first thing that I recommend everyone should do if you're dealing with these types of individuals. And by the way, I'm using this app called Glorify. Highly recommend it. It's a daily prayer and devotional app. You can search keywords like anxiety, depression, and it'll bring up passages that mention these words in the Bible. And like I said, I have trained myself not to do this. It's taken me a while, but I don't go back and forth with these people that try to pick fights with me online. It doesn't do anything, in the same way that their hostility isn't doing anything, because here I am still making content, right? I'm still here. But let's see. Proverbs 26:4. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. So when people are screaming at you and they're calling you all these names, a turf, a bigot, a whatever, don't answer them. That is foolish, and if you engage with these people, you will also be foolish. And again, this is something I've had to learn myself after I finally understood that this isn't doing anything, right? Me engaging with these people, they're gonna think that they're the smarter ones by starting off these interactions in such an aggressive way. So at the end of the day, it just doesn't do anything, and I would just ignore it. Just let them scream into the void. Treat it like a treat it like a child, like having a tantrum. Just let them have their tantrum. Just let them have that. And again, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I am deeply concerned. I'm deeply concerned for the mental well-being of a lot of these people, and I know that until we're able to start building bridges, we're going to keep living in this chaotic world for God knows how long. And the best thing that we can do is try to build bridges. And this is why I wanted to make this video, not to try and force my beliefs onto someone, but instead, first of all, I think Jesus is for everyone, even if you're agnostic or an atheist. But I think that, like I said, it's very telling that these people are not believers in Jesus just based on how they're acting. So let me read a few more passages that sort of explains why churches are being subverted. And the reason why is because they don't want you to fix this. They don't want you to fix your spirit. They want you to stay sick and stay in a dark place. So here's a few other notes. Proverbs 24:23. These also are sayings of the wise. To show partiality in judging is not good. So you know those people that say, that's a conservative talking point, or that's don't talk to them because they have right-leaning ideas or whatever. And I know people on the right do the same thing, but if you show partiality, that's not good. And the Bible speaks against that. So, no bueno. Here's another one. Proverbs 15:18. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. These people that are very quick to just slander and yell and, demean people. No bueno. We got another one here. Proverbs 26:17. Like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. I see this a lot with content creators that make these videos about me. Their fan base will go after me. It's like, hold on a second. First of all, I wasn't even talking to the content creator, and I'm definitely not talking to you guys. But it's sort of this idea that you're engaging in battles that have nothing to do with you. And my audience, boo-boos, I love you guys, but sometimes you guys do the same thing. And I understand that you want to go to bat for me and defend my honor on social media, but let it be. Let it be. I'd rather you take care of this up here, go outside, breathe the fresh air. Don't worry about these people online. Here's another one. 1 Peter 2:1. Therefore, rid yourselves of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind. Just to clarify, when I speak on topics that, a lot of the radical woke people don't like, they'll try to say that I'm slandering people. No, the truth isn't slander. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is we got to hone in on the hypocrisy part. One of the most eye-opening things for me was to see a lot of people claim that they're anti-racist, and they're some of the most racist people I've ever encountered in my life. So, no bueno. And this is why a lot of people in power want to subvert Christianity. It's because they don't want you to fix this. They want you to be slanderous. They want you to be hypocritical. They want you to be full of malice. Here's another one. This is a really good one. Jude 1:10. Yet these people slander whatever they do not understand, and the very things they do understand by instinct, as irrational animals do, will destroy them. So now that I've given my life over to Christ, I've been reading more of the Bible and finding a lot of practical things that I think would help a lot of people. As I'm describing in this video, a lot of these people I think are suffering from a broken spirit, and if they read the Bible, I think it would solve a lot of those problems. But anyway, the other day, because I'm finding all of these gems, I want to start sharing them, with my audience. And so I went on Twitter and I posted one. It's 1 Corinthians 13, 6 through 7. I forget exactly how to pronounce the chapters. I'm still learning. But what I wrote said, love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And then I went on to say that there is no love without truth and no truth without love. A lot of people, because they care about someone, they'll lie to them because they don't want to hurt their feelings. But if you love someone, you're going to tell the truth, and objective truth, by the way, not an opinion on something. That's very different. And so I posted that, and whoa, a lot of the responses were very angry. Again, coming from people that follow these social justice ideas. And one thing that I noticed, and this is going back to the other post that I mentioned about people slandering things that they don't understand, is that these people have a tendency to copy and paste a certain part of scripture that they don't understand, and they'll spam that chapter or that passage as a way to, I guess, discredit the Bible and somehow prove that followers of Christ are crazy people, or they're bigots, or they're mean, or whatever. And listen, you're going to get mean people regardless if they're religious or not, clearly. But when I see that, I compare that to a headline reader. Someone that, when we're just talking about politics, they'll look at the headline of an article or scan 1 or 2 articles and say, okay, I know everything there is to know about this situation. It's the same thing with people that have negative things to say about Jesus, is that a lot of the times they'll find a passage and run with it. And that's wrong. I research scripture in the same way that I research things happening in culture. For example, I have more in the living room, and this is actually courtesy to you guys. You guys have been sending me all of this, and I'm so grateful. But when I find something in the Bible that I don't understand, because there's a lot of interesting things in there, and the thing that people don't get is that the Bible, there's a lot of practical things that are meant to be taken literal, but there are a lot of other things that are called parables. And parables are sort of a collection of short, fictitious stories that are intended to teach a moral value or a religious principle. And so I research by actually diving deep and trying to understand the full context, because otherwise there's a lot of interesting things in the Bible that are like, hold on, what? Why is that in here? Hold on a second. But a lot of people stop just at the passage, and then that is what ends up creating this false perception about Christianity. And listen, I contributed to that. There was a time in high school I was that guy. So let me just wrap this video up. Hold on. Let me wrap this video up. I think that, first of all, the reason that I'm suggesting maybe these people read a couple of passages and, go outside and experience nature is because nature is a creation of God, right? He created everything. And again, I might be speaking to people that are rolling their eyes, like, I get it. But if you start reading the Bible, maybe you listen to some sermons, right? Maybe you go outside, go on nature walks. It's going to really change your perspective. It definitely helped with me. Now, the reason I didn't suggest getting a therapist is it sort of relates to what we're talking about in terms of infiltration. There are two communist rules, number 32 and number 39, and I'm going to read them to you. Number 32 says, support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics. And then number 39 reads, dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as a means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals. Let me give you an example of this. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Jordan Peterson. He's a very well-known psychologist. He's an author. He gives various lectures. I saw him recently live. Phenomenal. Go check him out if you ever have the chance. But Dr. Peterson is one of the most vocal individuals who are pushing back against the laws in Canada that are compelling the speech of psychologists.
But I'm not saying words that other people want me to say. And the idea of compelled speech, it's like, the bill was this much about gender.
Right.
And it was this much about, oh yeah, the government's going to tell me what to say. Hey, but now they're regulating what therapists can say, therapy sessions.
In other words, the same way that churches are being subverted with social justice, with the intentions of controlling your moral compass, the same thing is happening to the field of psychology. They want full control over your moral compass, and they want full control over a peer. So now we have to worry, is my therapist saying these things because they have me in their best interest? Or is my therapist only saying these things because they're afraid of losing their license? That is scary. And this is what, this is my main argument, is if you have something that can be altered by the people, that means that it can always change, and change doesn't necessarily mean it's for the good. Because now, with these laws that are compelling the speech of doctors, now what's happening, it's creating other problems because people aren't getting properly diagnosed. And that's not good. So this is why I'm recommending that the people that I'm speaking to, the ones that are sort of stuck in this combative cycle of, you know, being aggressive and just being angry all the time, this is, you know, I'm recommending that, like I said, watch some sermons, read a few passages, disconnect from social media, disconnect from the news. You don't need to always be feeding your brain with that stuff. You gotta detox from it. And if you were to start following the word of God, like I said, the Bible never changes. So it's literally an anchor for you. It's gonna keep you grounded. And you don't have to worry about being misled in the wrong direction because the government is intentionally trying to lead you in that direction. It's essentially social engineering that's happening. But yeah, I know that this video was sort of long-winded, but I hope that people who hate watch my videos, especially other content creators with massive platforms, I hope you guys realize that we're not each other's enemy. The enemy are the people that are watching us fight with each other. And not only do I want to see you get better, but I also think your platform could be used in a way that's going to help society as a whole and not whatever political agenda the elites are trying to push. So, you know, regardless of how much, maybe you might watch this video and still call me names. It is what it is. I'm going to keep making content. I'm not going anywhere, but the door is open. And you're the one that has to go through it. So I hope that you take my advice, you know, and if you still want to call me a transphobe or bigot or a white supremacist, you know, hey, to each their own. I'm still not going to hate you for it. But yeah, All right, now I'm rambling. So I'm going to make more videos like this in the future, by the way, because as I said, two of the main entry points for communist takeovers are the family and the church. And there are a lot of ideas that are directly in conflict with the church. So I'm going to be making more videos to create the argument that all of these social justice ideologies are intending to destroy the church and destroy the family. So if people are wondering, how do we get out of this situation? Is there any way that we can get back to normal? No, we're not going to go back to normal. I don't know what normal is going to look like, but there is a way for us to derail a lot of the chaos that's happening. And a lot of the solutions lead back to Christianity. So yeah, I'm going to be making more videos on it. Keep an eye out for that. If you guys enjoyed this video, I know it was a little bit different, but you know, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, even if it's not something relating towards this, maybe you want me to react to something stupid, drop the link in the comment section below. My name is Gothix, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep my grift going, consider picking up some official merch by visiting nosisnos.com/Gothix or joining my locals community at gothix.locals.com for more content. As always, you can help amplify my message by giving this video a thumbs up and by sharing it online with your friends. Until next time.